Module 10, Defective Contracts. A contract with all the valid requisites constitutes a valid contract. Should any of the requisites prove to be defective or missing, the result is defective contract. Dapat complete yung hinihinging valid requirements para sa contract. Nakakasira ng contract pag may mali o defect sa requirements, pwedeng makancel yung contract. Next, defective contract produces different effects which range from void ab initio to ratifiable contract. Ibig sabihin ng void ab initio, having no legal effect from inception o no contract at all. Yung ratifiable contract naman ay yung contract in which the terms have been agreed upon by all parties but has not yet been fully executed, signed, and delivered. Next, rescissible contract. Rescissible contract are those validity agreed upon because all the essential elements exist and therefore legally effective, but in the cases established by law, the remedy of rescission is granted in the interest of equity. Rescissible contract, ito yung least defective contract. Pwedeng valid yung contract pero rescissible. Ibig sabihin ng rescissible, pinawalang bisa. Pwede lang sabihin na rescissible ang contract kapag provided by law na rescissible siya. There must be no other legal remedy to obtain reparation for the damage. Yung parties must be ready for mutual restitution. Example ng restitution ay shoplifter na magbabayad ng amount na ninakaw niya o yung nakabangga na magbabayad ng medical expenses ng nabangga niya. Next, rescission is a remedy granted by the law to the contracting parties and sometimes even to third persons in order to secure reparation of damages caused them by a valid contract. Ibig sabihin naman ng rescission, cancellation. Cancellation of the contract and the return of the parties to the positions they would have if the contract has not been made. Pag may damage yung contract, ito yung cancellation of valid contract. When the agreed parties rescind the contract will cancel or terminate. Next, requisites of rescission. The following are the requisites before the remedy of rescission may be availed of. Number 1, the contract must be validity agreed upon Article 1380. Those validly agreed upon because all the essential elements exist and therefore legally effective. Number 2, there must be lesion or pecuniary prejudice to one of the parties or to a third person. Article 1381. Ibig sabihin ng lesion, signify the injury suffered in consequence of inequality of situation. Ibig sabihin naman ng pecuniary prejudice or damages, simply quantifiable compensatory damages. Example ng pecuniary damages ay yung medical cost, which may include ambulance bills, hospital bills, doctor bills, medication expenses. Number 3, the rescission must be based upon a case specially provided by law. Number 4, there must be no other legal remedy to obtain reparation for the damage. Wala nang legal na process para maayos yung damage. Kung mayroon pa, hindi pa pwedeng i-approve o i-rescind yung contract. Number 5, the party asking for rescission must be able to return what he is obliged to restore by reason of the contract. Number 6, the object of the contract must not legally be in the possession of third person who did not act in bad faith. Next, the period for filing the action for rescission must not have prescribed. The following contracts are rescissible. Number 1, those which are entered into by guardians whenever the wards whom they represent suffer lesion by more than 1/4 of the value of the things which are the object thereof. Ibig sabihin ng ward is a person under guardianship by reason of something incapacity. Halimbawa, absent. Or absentee must suffer damages or injury by more than 1/4 of the value. Ayun nga, sinabi na dyan. Number 2 naman, those agreed upon in representation of absentees, if the latter suffer the lesion stated in the preceding number. 3. Those undertaken in fraud of creditors when the latter cannot in any other manner collect the claims due them. For example, si debtor may utang kay creditor, and si D or debtor hindi niya sure kung makakabayad siya kay creditor, at yung property ni debtor is being lived. So, ang ginawa niya, benenta niya sa third party yung property niya. Pero wala siyang intensyon na bayaran si creditor sa proceeds ng pagbebenta niya. Since dyan, present yung fraud kasi si D, intentionally niyang iiwasan yung pagbabayad kay C kapag nabenta niya yung property niya. Pwedeng ipa-rescind ni C yung contract. Number 4, those which refer to things under litigation if they have been entered into by the defendant without the knowledge and approval of the litigants or of competent judicial authority. Ibig sabihin ng litigation ay process of taking legal action. Yung litigants naman, a person who involved in a lawsuit. Rescissible yung contract kung lack of knowledge yung defendant about sa approval ng court o judicial authority. Number 5, all other contracts specially declared by the law to be subject to rescission. Cases of rescissible contracts. Number 1, contract entered into a behalf of wards. Example, G is the guardian of M, a minor. G says the property of M worth 20,000 pesos for only 15,000 pesos. Property ni M yung binenta ni G kasi minor pa si M. Kaya si G ang nag-aasikaso kasi siya naman yung guardian ni M. Siya na rin yung nagde-decide kung magkano niya ibebenta. Pero si M pa rin yung may karapatan sa pera. Number 2, contracts agreed upon in representation of absentees. An absentee is a person who disappear from his domicile, his whereabouts being unknown, and without leaving an agent to administer his property. Ito yung pagkawala ng tao na walang pinagbilina ng property niya, so walang mag-handle ng case. Number 3, contract undertaken in fraud of creditors in order that fraud of creditors may be a valid ground for rescission. The following requisites must also be present. A. There must be an existing credit prior to the contract to be rescinded, although it is not yet due or demandable. Dapat may previous credit sa contract para ma-rescind o makancel kahit hindi pa due yung credit. B. There must be fraud on the part of debtor which may be presumed or proved. proved or with legal evidence dapat yung fraud na nangyari. Letter C, the creditor cannot cover his credits in any other manner, it not being required that the debtor be insolvent. Insolvent means unable to pay debts owed. Number 4, contract which refer to things under litigation. Example, A sues B for the recovery of the parcel of the land. In this case, that land is a thing under litigation. If during the pendency of the case, binenta ni B yung land kay C without the approval of A or of the court, the sale is rescissible at the instance of A in case he wins in his suit for the recovery of said land, unless C is in legal possession of that land in good faith. If the action involves personal property, A may petition the court for the insurance of an order of attachment to the place the property in custodial legis. Number 5, other instances. Some of the specific contracts subject to rescission are as follows. Payment in a state of insolvency. The present article speaks payment, not exactly a contract. A debtor is insolvent if he does not have sufficient properties to meet his obligations. It is not necessary that the debtor's insolvency be judicially. Under this article, the payments must have been made for obligation to those fulfillment the debtor could not be compelled at the time they were affected. Kasama sa obligation na tinutukoy ay yung not legally be demanded, such as natural obligation, and those have prescribed. Nature of action for rescission. Rescission is not a principal remedy. It is only subsidiary, meaning that it can be availed of only if the injured party proves that he has no other legal means aside from rescinding the contract to obtain redress for the damage caused. Nature of action, ito yung mapapakinabangan lang kung proven ng injured party na wala ng ibang legal process para maayos yung damage. Extent of rescission. The entire contract need to be set aside by rescission. If the damage can be repaired or covered by partial rescission, the rescission shall only be to the extent of the creditor's unsatisfied credit. The policy of the law is to preserve or respect the contract, not to extinguish it. In short, ire-rescind lang yung contract pag wala na talagang ibang way para maayos. Pero kung kaya pang ayusin partially, hindi pa ire-rescind yung contract. Hindi basta-basta nag-extinguish ang law ng contract. Last, rescission creates obligation of mutual restitution. When the court declares a contract rescinded, the parties must return to each other the object contract with its fruits and the price thereof with legal interest. Pag na-approve na yung pag-rescind ng contract, both parties must return to each other the object with its fruit and the price with legal interest kasi cancel na yung contract, meaning wala nang bisa.